It's been 6 weeks since the tragic shooting in Parkland, Florida. We expected an anti gun crusade, but this time it's different. It's taken on a new sense of mission. I've never seen the two sides so dug in. And everybody is yelling about everything from the NRA to mental illness. But only a very few will take a good long look at how we got here. First off, let's get one thing straight. An AR 15 is not a machine gun, it's a one shot per trigger pull rifle. Its similarity to the military weapon after which it's modeled is cosmetic. And the words assault weapon have been attached to it by the anti gun folks who want people to think that military weapons are available in gun stores. But let's not ignore the cosmetics because the look of these guns is very important to understanding why these mass shooters prefer these guns. When you think about it, sneaking a 32-inch long, 8-pound rifle into a school or movie theater is a lot harder than smuggling in a couple of Glocks and a half dozen clips. The rifle fires no faster, and up close is no more accurate. So why? Why do the shooters use these guns? And why, oh why, do the left-wing pundits focus so specifically on them? The answer is the same for both questions. It's a two-part answer. 1, Hollywood movies. 2, video games. These guns were popularized by Hollywood. That is a simple fact. It was the Rambo and Commando movies that first brought them to our attention. The scenes of buffed-out heroes getting strapped for battle were photographed like softcore porn. And ever since, multiple movies have been released every year that feature a lone gunman wreaking righteous revenge upon an army of opponents. The bodies pile up and the bad guys keep coming, and our hero shoots his way to daylight time and time again. And at some point, he goes for an AR or an AK. The same is true of first-person shooter video games like Call of Duty. The point of view of the young guys who play these games is right behind the weapon. There are literally hundreds of these games. Kids play them for sometimes thousands of hours, far more time than they spend in social interaction. And the number of people they kill is reflected positively in their scores. How do you go to the next virtual level? Kill more virtual people. Listen, I have shot both an AK-47 and an AR-15 style gun within the past 6 months, and it's almost impossible to hold one without feeling like an action hero. Just like when I was a kid and wore a chrome-plated toy Colt Peacemaker on my hip as I walked the neighborhood. The westerns I watched connected me to my inner badass. Of course, back then, movie killing was never done on the massive scale that it is now common. And back then, kids played outside with other kids, working out their social skills. None of us spent thousands of hours a year with video consoles designed to blur the difference between fantasy and reality. Am I suggesting that video games cause mass killings? Of course not. The causes have to do with the alienation of these shooters, but the games and movies demonstrate and glamorize the method. And if you don't think that media images inspire actions, how do you explain advertising? We are all complicit. We have all stood by while boyhood has been abandoned, rites of passage are mostly lost to history, and masculinity is usually portrayed as toxic. It is very hard for young men to understand the murderous impulses that are tucked into every male human mind. Nobody's teaching them about that stuff and how to control it. Today's social media is filled with discussions of mental illness. If only an illness was required to turn a boy into a killer. But history is full of war, and unless you think every soldier has been a nutcase, you'll have to admit that human males can easily be turned into killers. All that is needed is to dehumanize the enemy and awaken, in a young man, the idea of heroic action in service of an ideal. And you've got yourself a killing machine. No craziness required. With very rare exception, these rampage killers are young males. Almost always they are loners who feel rejected by the group. Almost always they are fans of movies that glamorize gun violence and assault weapons. Often they are also habitual video gamers. When Columbine happened, the press called those guys goths. Nonsense. They weren't listening to The Cure and crying. They were watching The Matrix and planning. As I said in my video, How to Stop the Killings, these shootings are theatrical events in which the killers have cast themselves as avenging angels out to blast their way into eternity. Look, guns are dangerous. They are designed to make holes in living things. But they are only deadly to a human being when another human being thinks he has the right to solve his own anger by killing some people. If you are my age, your dad almost certainly had a gun or guns, and that was almost never a problem. But our culture has been degraded terribly by the very same people who now blame conservatives for mass shootings. The people who gave us the movies and video games that have helped to program alienated adolescent males into killers are the very same people who scream the loudest for these big, black, scary guns to be removed from shelves. The same people who made sure that both parents are working and that Junior is home alone in the afternoon. Yes, from the dismemberment of the American family to the war on masculinity to the production of slaughter porn and first-person shooter video games, this tragic trend was built by the people now pointing fingers at the NRA. That they screamed the loudest about this particular gun tells you an awful lot about how guilty they feel. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.